Welcome to the Pride Rock podcast. This is the fourth episode already. It's Rowan, by the way. Today I was joined by Lorna. She's someone who teaches people to find their inner child. The inner child is basically, the part of yourself that you neglected. We had a really interesting talk. It was really good. I hope you get something out of it. You like it, and that was it basically. Have a good day. Speak to you soon, guys. Hello guys, this is Rowan with the Pride Rock podcast. Today I'm joined by, what was your name again?
Lorna.
Lorna.
Dyce.
Okay, and what are you doing exactly?
Okay. I work as a mentor and I help people heal their emotional debris. Yeah. So I really work on a basis of connecting to your inner child. So I believe that we create 100% of our reality, and the things that are showing up in our lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly, are there to kind of teach us or show us where we need to look inside and heal aspects of ourselves that we have disconnected from. And if you've ever watched the film The Matrix,
Yeah.
I just love that movie, and I'm sure many people can relate to. You're unplugging from a system that you were programmed into, and really beginning to take back your power and recognize who you are, that we are these powerful beings, and we have these gifts and abilities that most people don't even know because they're so programmed into this existence. From the moment they're born, they're shown what to say, what to do, how to be in the world. And we're born into families that, like myself, can be very, very dysfunctional. So we lose who we are. I actually just disconnected from who I was. I began to just become an observer in life and really learnt how to hide and shut down emotionally, shut down in my feelings. And so my journey from an adult point of view is really to kind of unlearn this programming and return to my natural state.
That's exactly how I look on this as well. Because a lot of, self-help teachers and stuff try to learn you stuff instead of, unlearn you stuff. Because that's, like you said, basically what you need to do. There's, of course, sometimes you have to learn new stuff, but it's basically about, unlearning and discovering what's beneath. Because, we've been programmed.
Yes, that's
Really
right.
interesting. So, but I think, I've had a rough class as well, but I think, those kind of things happen for a reason, because don't you agree, like, without it you wouldn't have ended up here, helping people and becoming aware of this kind of things.
Exactly. And I think, don't get me wrong, it took me a long time to get to
Yeah,
that
it's very
station.
hard.
Yeah, it was very, very tough. I used to say, why me? And I know everybody has their own traumas and their own experiences growing up, but for me, it was very, very painful. And it's only now, as I've gone through this journey, I can look back and give thanks for having gone through it and experienced it, because now I can help other people see that actually a lot of it is just um, in order to trigger what needs to be healed in them. And that as they heal, they begin to have compassion for or look at things very differently. And it just opens their eyes. And to see people and help people to heal their emotional baggages that they've carried for years, it's just such a blessing. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
And don't you think the baggage is something, hiding the baggage is something we all do, because
Yes.
it's too painful, and it can be the silliest thing, but when you hide it and it gets lost, it will basically follow you the rest of your life, instead, unless you do something about it.
That's right. That what you don't want to look at inside of you is actually creating your reality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So when things are showing up in your life, like you were always maybe attracting a similar type of partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, and you wonder why you keep attracting this. When you begin to do your inner work, you then realise actually it's the wounded child that is bringing this to you in order to see an aspect of yourself. And it also goes the same when you're in a work environment and you're surrounded by very negative people. It's to reflect back where you're also very negative, but you don't want to see that inside of you, you know. So you're going to keep seeing these different mirrors showing up. Some good mirrors, some feel good, some not so good. And it's figuring out, okay, these not so good mirrors that are always just here, what are they showing? Yeah, what's it within me do I need to look at? And I always kind of describe it as this kind of emotional spectrum. So you've got this spectrum, like an autistic spectrum, yeah, and where we need to come into is a balance. But most people sit, you know, either one end of the spectrum, and then they will attract people who sit on the other end of the spectrum, so it'd be magnified. And you know, I might have people in my life that use me. You know, that was a pattern in my life. You know, I would do things for people, and they'd have this sense of being used, and then I would get people, you know, showing up saying, "Oh yeah, I can help you with this and help you with that," but actually they were using me. And then I had to look, okay, what are they actually teaching me? Oh, okay, there's a part of me that feels used. Yeah, do you get that?
Yeah, I really get that.
That feels used inside, that I have disconnected from.
Yeah, you become aware of it, and you will search, and you will get further into what's going on, and you'll find that it's something completely else is going on, basically.
Exactly. So I found through that journey, I found it related to my abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a child.
Okay.
Yes, and I could connect the dots.
Yeah. And from there, the healing could start.
Yes, and from there the healing began.
Okay, and how did you go from healing yourself to basically healing others?
Kind of accidental, really. You know, I began to have these. I worked like everybody else in the corporate world, and I was in a job for 15 years. I was a manager. I managed, you know, something like 9 staff, and my boss at the time, I think, would describe me as being very soft and very avoiding any dramas, you know, not taking responsibility. And then one day she just started on and on at me, like bullying, yeah. And I just didn't have the tools to be able to cope with it, yeah. And I ended up taking time off work because I just couldn't cope. I literally had a breakdown, and it was actually at that point when I was sitting at home one day, I just said this prayer. I just said, God, if there's a God, please just help me. Yeah, please. I don't know what to do with my life. I feel I've hit rock bottom. And then I went to sleep. The next day I got up. I don't know why. I went to the local shops. I went into a bookstore and I picked up a book. And this book set was by Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you heard of him.
No, I haven't.
A spiritual solution to every problem. And as I began to read that book, it felt like my mind just expanded, and I had these aha moments. I just knew this was the truth. Just knew what I was reading. Just felt so good. And then that led on to more books and to more books. And then I started going out to events or workshops, you know, and just really that started my spiritual journey. That was in 2008.
All right, so you're not doing this for too long.
No.
Interesting.
And that's what I would say to people. You don't have to have 20 years experience and done this and done that. It isn't. This was just my personal journey that I began to take. And then I went to people that helped me look at some of what went on as a child. And then as they did this work with me, my interest began to just spark. I was like, wow. And then also what began to happen, these magical experiences, you know, what I call glimpses into this other realm, began to show up. You know, I'd be sitting there watching. I remember watching EastEnders once, which is like a popular program in England, and I was watching this EastEnders, and all of a sudden, snap! I was not on Earth. I was somewhere else completely. Yeah, and I was looking at the Earth, and I was, oh my God, what the hell is happening?
Like an out-of-body experience.
Yes, like an out of body, but completely seeing the Earth. Yeah, and being shown where I was from, what I'd come to do, why I was going through these different experiences.
Really?
And the place that they said I was from was called Pleiades, and at that time I'd never heard of this word, never heard of it. I even struggled to put it in the Google, like I couldn't even spell it, and just thought, oh okay, I must have made this up. Then the following week I went to a workshop, and then the lady that carried out the workshop, many of you from this place called Pleiades, and I was like, oh my God.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, the synchronicities, yeah. And it was just like, so when I looked it up and I saw the sort of people that came and how they were, I just knew I was from there, I knew part of me or whatever. And so I'd have these glimpses into these different magical experiences, and I would say from 2012, bang, that is when all my emotional stuff just came up. Everything, all the different identities I was portraying myself as just started to come away, and I had to look deeply at this pain, this real deep pain that I was hiding inside of me. And then when I looked at it, people would then start to come.
But okay, for the people at home who want to start with doing this, what would be a good starting point from your perspective? How can you start to look into your own pain and to, basically heal it?
I would say the first thing is awareness.
Yes.
If you have no awareness that what's happening to you is happening for a reason, then you are asleep. You're still asleep in the system, yeah. But when you begin to wake up and question, ask the questions, connect to this higher. We have these higher beings, God, Source. People have these different names, yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
It's basically the same thing. I don't get, they're just labels to me. It's whatever you want to call it. But we have these divine beings that are here to assist us. And when you just start asking the question, and with an awareness begin to notice those questions are being answered, yeah, so then synchronicity starts to show up. Yeah, you might be guided to a book. You don't know why you picked up the book. The book has, when you open that page, in that page is exactly what you need.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It happens. It happens all the time to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or you may ask a question and then you look up on the television and bang, somebody's just saying something on the TV, or a set of words just come off on the television, and you're like, whoa, okay. And at first when it happened, I was like, okay, I kind of just made that up. That's just a coincidence,
But when it happens, but when it happens a lot, you're starting to question, like, oh, maybe, yeah.
Exactly. So,
okay. So the first step would be awareness, and I would say I'm at that point, far beyond that point actually. But now I'm stuck. Now you're aware of all these things. How do you really get to the source of everything?
Yeah, once you become aware, I think meditation helps you. Yeah, so start meditating, start connecting inwards, taking that quiet space, just to sit with yourself and begin to listen to yourself. Your body is always talking to you.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
It's always talking to you, but most of us don't hear it because we consume substances that dull us, or we do things like compulsively in order that we don't hear our inner voice. And we've all done it,
Watching television, eating bad foods, even doing healthy things like going to the gym or meditating can be used to, just get distracted from the pain,
Exactly. We can be addicted to sex, to drugs, to alcohol, to watching the television, to going to the gym, to meditating.
Basically everything, everything external.
everything in excess.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing something in excess, in my experience, that is when we're avoiding
Yeah.
something that we need to look at.
Mm-hmm. For example, at the moment I'm having some stomach issues, and I really think it has to do with some emotional thing I'm going through. But I'm not really aware yet of the source of it. I feel all these insecurities or these thoughts, but I don't know exactly what kind of belief or experiencing is. Putting that out. I'm aware of all these little triggers, but I need to go to the roots. I feel like, and that's really hard for me.
I think it's hard for most people. I really understand that actually part of my role is to assist people to start the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, one of the things I struggled with is I didn't want to, it never felt comfortable to kind of tell people you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing that. I think we already have this innate guide within us,
Mm-hmm.
and I want people to start to shift the debris and teach them how to start shifting it. Just by getting quiet and connecting in to the pain. So when you were saying about the anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
would you call it?
Yeah. I have anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah, anxiety. That is such a common experience for many people to have this anxiety feeling. And what I just help people to do is go down into the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you might think you have anxiety, but have you ever gone into it?
Yeah, a little bit, but it usually comes up when I'm like out, with talking with people and stuff, and it's a little bit hard to do it at those moments because you're like in a club or doing things, or it comes up at random moments. I've worked a lot on myself, and I resolved the big things, but there are like these little nasty underlying insecurities that are really hard to get to, and I feel like I have to do something, but I don't know what yet. Because the obvious thoughts I would have, I would actively think negative things. I've dealt with those things. Those were like in front of me, and those are gone. But only the what I mean, the nasty underlying thoughts that aren't that apparent immediately are still there, and it's really hard sometimes to get them.
Well, one of the words that just by listening to you, one of the things you said, and when you replay it back, you say it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because you are saying it's really hard to get to, it comes up in situations where it's really hard to deal with it.
Yeah.
It comes up in situations when you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you're putting that out.
Yeah.
But when you begin, if you change your wording to actually, I'm ready to look at this now. Yeah. I'm aware that this comes up generally when I'm in social situations. Okay, what am I being shown? Yeah, what is this showing? That there's an anxiety that comes up. Yeah, and just listen to what the words that want to come up, because your actually body wants to the aspect of you that feels the anxiety is not you in your wholeness, because you're actually already whole, perfect, and complete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the aspect of you that is saying it's hard is not you in your wholeness.
It's not integrated yet.
Yeah, so it's a part that you separated from. And as you begin to have that conversation with yourself, but I like to say my inner child, because it's genuinely childlike quality.
Mm.
And when I've worked with people and we've gone into the pain, they said, oh my God, there's a little child sitting there. Yeah? And people are quite surprised to see this child.
Yeah.
And it could be various ages from fetus,
Mm-hmm.
2 years old, 4 years old, 5, 6. There's all very different ages of children that just sit where we kind of abandon them.
Mm-hmm.
It can, you might trace it back to, oh, okay, there was an activity that took place in your childhood where you were around people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it triggered something in you.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then you didn't know how to deal with it, so you kind of separated from that part of you that felt that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it never got resolved. But then as you begin to go in and look and ask that question, to yourself, to this child, and you see the child, you then maybe will see the memory of when it occurred, yeah. And then as you look at the memory and you see the child sitting there, you can connect to that child and say it's okay, yeah, it's okay to come up, you know.
That's
So
interesting. Maybe now thinking about it, I'm saying it's hard. I'm doing that subconsciously as a protection thing, so I don't have to look at it or something.
exactly, you've got it in one, yeah. It's a protective mechanism. You're saying it's hard, so you
Don't have to look at it.
yeah, you don't have to feel the feeling that is attached to it.
Ah,
You get anxiety, but most of us will go and take a drink or take a drug or watch television. We'll do everything not to feel that anxiety.
I
But when
wasn't.
it's
I
yeah,
wasn't even aware of that. I thought, okay, yeah,
yeah,
very good, very good.
yeah. So
I've
I
al-
just want people become aware of this.
yeah, because there are so many layers to awareness. Even now I thought I was pretty aware, but there's always this thing you don't know about, and then you say something, and now it triggers something in me. Because I really get what you're saying now. I'm gonna work on that. Very interesting. Um,
If there is nothing to work on,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I tend
yeah,
to do that. I'm like,
yeah.
me against the world. I'm gonna work on myself. You
Just
know.
working on it is saying it's hard,
Yeah,
saying it's tough. It's going to
yeah.
be, you know what, I'm going to have to. Oh God, I'm going to.
That's the way I am.
Yeah,
I used to be like me against. It's like a victim mentality, basically. Me against the world. I have to fight for things. Things don't come from itself. I have to really fight for shit.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
yeah. And again, when you trace that back, that comes from again a situation that would have occurred generally in our childhood. Not everything, but I find most of it occurs in our childhood, and then we have built up this kind of protection or defense mechanism where we then take a belief that it's me against the world.
hmm It's
Yeah.
like you don't trust life or something. It has to do with safety.
Yes. And if you go to the core, that's the beauty of this work, because when you go down to the core, you heal it on so many levels.
hmm
Yeah.
That,
So I find that people who generally just work on themselves, as you are doing, um, remove one layer,
mm.
and then something else comes to the surface. Then they remove that layer, then something else comes to the surface. Yeah.
Exactly, because that's what I've been doing, and that's why I feel like I have to go to some kind of core, because now I'm like, oh, this is gone, but all these other things are popping up as well. That's not helping. I want to, get rid of the core thing, and then everything fades away.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember, we have different. We can work on our relationship. Yeah. Or we can choose to work on our spirituality, or we can choose to work, but they're all intertwined.
Exactly. I don't like to make the distinction.
Yeah.
But what also is very important. So you have like the inner work. John talked about it as well. He calls it the sacred mother work, I think. But you work on the inner stuff. But you also have to work on your outer stuff. So you're redoing all the things you learned yourself. You have to work on new ways as well. So it's like a two-way thing.
It's a two-way thing. Um, when you work on your inner world, what generally happens is you find you have more choices on your outer world.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that the same challenges doesn't come to you again, but what happens is you realize you have a choice.
Exactly. You have more emotional control, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, you react differently, and in you reacting differently, you not only set yourself free, you set the person that brought you the lesson free. Yeah,
Exactly, because
you're
what you were saying about being amongst negative people at work, as example, doesn't mean you won't be amongst those people, but having a different perspective on it changes everything. Basically, maybe changes them in different people as well.
so you no longer then see the negativity; they become calmer.
Yeah,
They become, you begin to understand them on another level. Or what sometimes happens, and happens in many people's cases, they just leave because
yeah,
they need to show you
Could
that
be
level.
as well. Yeah, exactly.
You leave your space,
Mhm.
because one of the things, as you raise your frequency, your vibration, yeah, because as you're clearing the density of your stuff or your emotional baggages that you've been carrying, and you begin to rise in frequency, so you become more calm, you're more peaceful, you feel a lot more love, for yourself and for others. The people that were, in quotes, negative, cannot stay in your energy. They
Yeah,
find it
true.
hard. They don't know why.
Mhm.
They just will leave. And
Mhm.
so on this journey, it can be very lonely, because for me, when I started to heal, the people that I was, really friendly with, or, we were really close, I didn't have it in common. I didn't have anything in common with them anymore. So they kind of just went.
Mhm.
So I had this period where it was really lonely. But I also know in the loneliness, I kind of found myself and who I was. Yeah, because this whole journey is about self-love. Ultimately,
Awakening.
yeah, this awakening journey is returning to our true um, self. You can call it your Adam and Eve self. Where you came to this earth originally as one. One.
Mhm.
You've got divine masculine and divine feminine within you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know much about the divine feminine?
A little bit. I've heard like the divine masculine is more about penetration, and the divine feminine is about creation, basically, right?
Yes, yeah, very similar. Yes, exactly. So your divine feminine is like your intuition,
Mhm.
this deep, nurturing, and very much like a motherly figure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and our masculine is where we take that out into the world.
Actually, I'm really familiar with that.
Sorry?
I'm really familiar with that because, when I was 16, I found this woman on the internet that she basically helped me through my journey, and she was an astrologist, a real one. And she basically, yeah, you have all these bullshit artists on the internet, but she's a real one, and she helped me, helped me with my horoscope and helped me getting insights and stuff. But in astrology, you have the masculine and the feminine as well. So I know a lot about it, and you can see it in people as well. Yeah, it's really interesting, really interesting.
There are many men that just come either from their masculine or feminine.
Hmm.
So there's always an imbalance, and many females come very much from their feminine and not from their masculine. So there again, there's an imbalance. Yeah.
I'm actually learning to use both.
Yes, it's about coming into balance with both within you. Yeah. So for many women, we give our powers away because we come in with these roles
Mhm.
of how women should be in
Mhm.
this society, and that women are kind of weaker than the males, and that men, okay, I need to rely on a man to do X, Y, and Z, around the house. But that's just a program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people
It's
aren't thinking for themselves anymore
mm,
because women used to be very suppressed, and now they're like overcompensating for that. They feel like they're not all women, but in general, feel like they have to fight for something, and they're overcompensating and trying to
exactly.
act like men.
So again, it's like this spectrum that I said. It's about coming into balance.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong or right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we don't look at, like you say, this for very much for females. Sometimes females don't want to be associated with this girly kind of stereotype um, that has been placed on them. So they will go the extreme on the spectrum. So they will be really independent. I don't need a man. I don't. But when you go from that, then you find, you're not in balance. Yeah, there's no good or wrong. You are who you are. But I would say the biggest work for most people is where we put this protection around our hearts,
Mm.
so that we stop love from coming too close to us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So and we wonder why we can't seem to find that right person, but there is no right person. Every relationship is there to show us what needs to be healed inside of us. So generally in relationships we will have this massive attraction to this person, yeah. And then we come together, and it's like, oh wow, they call it the honeymoon period, yeah. Then when the honeymoon period is over, then that's when the real work begins, because that person is almost becomes like a Jekyll and Hyde, because they didn't seem to bring up these deep pain inside of you with their actions, but they're actually meant to do that in order to crack that shell that we've placed around ourselves, in order for us to look deeply within.
And also I feel like, we all feel like we are not enough. We feel like we miss something, and we're looking at in person people for that, we're searching for that completion, and that's where it gets wrong a lot of the times as well, because of course you're not going to find it in someone else.
No, somebody else has got also their unique journey. They've come here to experience
Yeah.
life and have their life lessons, and then particularly as a woman, for me, I look to be taken care of. Yeah.
That's feminine, right? That's a feminine quality, right?
So as a feminine, a female, I would look to the man to take care of me.
Interesting thing is, I have that as well, but I think it has something to do with my upbringing and my mother. So I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from as well. I don't think there's something wrong with that, but I think it's very interesting, and I noticed myself looking for that in a woman. So I'm figuring that out as well. Now I'm becoming more aware of stuff. All these things I'm doing, become too apparent to me. It's really interesting.
It is. It's for me, it was fascinating to then realise that actually that wanting that man to look after me came from when I went back down to my roots, came back to my father. Yeah. So looking for the protection. Yeah. Looking to be protected. Yeah. Looking to stay safe. Yeah. Because I felt that I needed that. But when I healed right back down to the root, and began to see, with clarity, it was just amazing to see these patterns within us. Yeah, because there is nobody that is responsible for taking care of us. But if as a child you wasn't taken care of, you unconsciously then look for that. So I had relationships that mirrored what I was looking for in my father. Yeah. And it was like, wow.
It's really beautiful that you realize that, because I've seen that a lot around me, around girls I know pretty personally, and they're just not aware of it, not at all. They keep wondering like, oh, what's going on, and I want to tell them, but I have this feeling like I shouldn't do this. Let them live their lives, and maybe they'll find out at some point, because not everyone is ready for it. People will think you're crazy, or they won't believe it, or they won't be willing to go into the pain, because like we said before, it's really painful. It's not okay for the people at home. It's not fun to do this. It can be interesting, but it's not fun. It can be very, very painful. So yeah, that's why I can understand it, why people don't want to do it.
Yeah, and also, again, it goes back to the matrix. Some people are not ready to be unplugged.
Lots of people aren't, I feel like.
Ready to be unplugged.
Nah.
God knows, I have been through it. I've tried to unplug people, and the lashback has been really okay. Yeah, and it taught me, nobody's ready for this. Yeah.
For people like you, I would say, I talk with this other guy on my podcast, Aaron, and he says I will never reach out to people anymore. I will wait for people to come to me, because then I'm sure they're ready, Because often people, if you go to people yourself, people probably won't be ready. Of course, when you connect through a synchronicity, it's different. But I find that a lot of times people are just not ready. They're dealing with all their own stuff, are confused and stuff. So
exactly, and sometimes it's for me, as my role growing up, I took on a role as a caregiver. So I was always, when I look back, I thought, oh my God, all my jobs have been very similar. I've always been in roles where I've looked after and taken.
But not that yourself.
Yeah, and not myself.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Care of others. I developed this role, and a role as a caregiver, really, it's to compensate a feeling that you're not good enough and that you're not worthy. Yeah. So we look after others in order to fill that void inside of us. Yeah. So we take care, take care, take care, and when you begin to see that pattern and break free of it, it is so liberating and so freeing. Because if you have a belief or you develop a role as a caregiver, you will have people to look after, yeah, and that can work fine whilst you're still in the matrix, when you're still sleeping, yeah. But once you wake up, you begin to question a lot of why these types of people are in your life, you know, and I really connect with being an empath, so I feel things very deeply on a very deep level, and I can feel people's stuff, and I can feel their emotions, and for me, what I did was take on their emotions as if it was mine. It wasn't even mine, so it was just, yeah, it was an awful lot, you know, to kind of handle, and then learning that, okay, this is not my stuff, I'll give that back to you.
Yeah.
This is mine, I'll give that
I have
back.
that as well. I have that as well. What I
Yeah.
usually do when I come in the room, I will immediately copy someone's emotions. So I will be confident and happy before I get in, but then I get in and begin to talk with someone, and I'll immediately copy their mood, you know. And now I'm trying to, you know, separate their mood from my own, and think like, okay, how did I feel before I got in, you know, things like that. I have to do it as well, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I think that's one of the um, main things for empaths
Yeah.
is to separate what is other people's stuff and your own feelings, because it can get really cloudy, you know. So I help people to do that as well, you know.
Interesting. I have this other question, a thing I have a problem with boredom, because I'll easily feel bored, you know, and I don't know how to explain, but I feel like something is going on there as well, you know. I'll be on my bed, you know, and I'm done with work, you know, and I'm like, I'm bored now, but
But then if I go back to our original point, you're
mhm,
already perfect, whole, and complete.
mhm,
So who is bored inside of you?
yeah,
Who is
yeah,
bored?
someone who doesn't feel like he's all, someone who feels like he needs things to, yeah,
To stimulate him.
uh,
So yeah, so that is a younger self within you. Yeah. So when you know, immediately you go to rest and you hear this voice saying, "I'm bored,"
mhm.
that is not you in your wholeness. It's
It's
an
not
aspect.
only a voice. My body begins to feel like, you know, I need to do something or something.
Yes. Yeah. But if you don't see that aspect of you, then you, as we said earlier, you will just go and feel the boredom. Yeah. And you never see the lesson that you're being shown is to sit with this feeling of boredom. How does that how does that feel? You know, you said, ugh,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. But if you was to sit and relax with that feeling, underneath that boredom is actually this pain. And so, in order for you not to feel that pain, you will say, I'm bored, so that you go and do things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, really, that's really profound. I didn't. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about it like that.
Yes. You know, and as you sit with this bored child and begin to ask, okay, why are you bored? What's going on? You'll begin to hear him, and he will maybe tell you stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know this. But then as he speaks, he says, you know, he might say to you, never do things that I want to do. You're always on your computer. You're always, um, you know, doing podcasts. You're always in, actually, I want to do something else, but you never give me a chance. Yeah? And again, as you listen to him, you know, and go into his feeling and have compassion for this part of you and love this part of you that's speaking and listen to him and just say, okay, um, I hear you. You then find that feeling begin to dissipate. Yeah? You'll find then a stillness will come in, especially when you begin to open your heart to this aspect of you that is feeling this feeling. You open your heart and allow yourself to feel it. as you feel this feeling, it will transform into something else. Yeah? And so he then gives you the gift. Because if your child feels bored, when you reconnect with that child that is bored, he will always bring you a gift. Yeah? What do you think the gift that he will bring you?
I have no idea actually. I feel like I'm so disconnected from. I feel like there's something really, really, really painful inside. I'm hiding from by doing various things, and I think it's really, really nasty. It's like Godzilla or something, or really big monsters inside. I feel like I have to look in the eyes. You know, I feel like I've pushed so many dark, painful things away.
Decide, yes.
Yeah, but really a lot, and yeah, sometimes it comes up, but then it goes away again. I don't know it. I'm not as far as you yet, but I'm at least a little bit aware of it.
But he will give you the gift of peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, a feeling of peace, a feeling that you don't have to keep doing all the time. You know, the gift comes in so many different ways, but it is absolutely beautiful gift. And the beauty of this work, you never go any further than you can actually manage. Yeah. So most people think, oh no, I can't do it because it's going to come down like but that your soul already knows exactly what you can deal with and what you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah? And so we'll only give you what you can actually manage. So I always say, particularly with my work, it's step by step. Yeah, layer by layer.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah, but I'm really, really. I don't want to wait, you know. So I usually want everything to happen at once. But of course, like you said, it's a process. You have to have patience.
Yes, yeah. But the beauty is to then see the external that goes on as a result. Yeah.
Yeah.
The beauty is when you start to do that inner child work, to see the results can be immediate. It can be in the week. You begin to just notice everything, and your awareness because every time you bring back an aspect of yourself, you know, whether it's a sad child, the bored child, the child that procrastinates, the child that feels stuck, can't move forward, the child that's afraid. Every time you bring back these different aspects of you, imagine what your awareness becomes. Yeah, because you're moving back to your, as I said earlier, your wholeness. You're already complete. You bringing back these aspects of you that you separated from. You begin to see things with a totally new eyes. The synchronicity increases 100%. Yeah, the knowing. You just know. Things just start showing up in your life. You're like, whoa.
I see double numbers all the time. All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
44, 77.
Everything. 22, 22,
22.
1, 1, 1, 1, 11, everything. It's crazy.
See?
Usually on my computer or the microwave or, you know, it's crazy. I don't know why it happens, but my teacher told me it has something to do with being on the right path. You know, you're aligned with the universe or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's crazy.
But the numbers mean different things.
True, that's true as well. But I have it with it's not like I always have 11. It's always all the numbers. It's crazy. So I don't feel like the numbers specifically have something to say. But I feel like the fact that I'm always seeing double numbers has something to do, has some meaning or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, again, open yourself up to understanding what the numbers is. If you don't take the time to understand the numbers will seem, they may be still showing up, but they have no meaning to you. Yeah, 22 is have faith.
Mm-hmm.
So when we see 22 all the time, is saying have faith. Things are working out. It's okay. Trust. Faith is 22 is about trust. Yeah, 44 means you have this very angelic guidance around you. Yeah, so 44 is just they're saying to you, we're with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything's going to be okay. You know, ask for help.
Yeah.
That's another thing on this journey. We don't ask for help.
No.
We try and do everything on our own.
Yeah.
But if you was to just sit and just say, God.
Or the opposite. Because, for instance, the self-help movement of the spiritual movement, a lot of people are seeking for information to all these gurus and stuff, while they have a lot of information inside of them. So you
Exactly.
also have people who should do the opposite and just, rely on on themselves, look within,
In the garden. But before, this is it. When you have all these aspects of you that you separated from, and you try and just rely on your inner guidance, you're not going to get. Sometimes it doesn't come through clearly. We can't hear it clearly. Yeah, it's because there's an aspect of us that we still haven't healed. Your intuition is only as clear as you are healed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
you can say I'm very intuitive, and on one level, yes, you are. But if you've got this massive block that you're not looking at, you can only be intuitive up to a certain degree.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes by asking for help, yeah, and being open to how that help comes, because the help, as I said to you earlier, it can come through a vision, it can come through a thought, it can
Through
come,
people, maybe.
yeah, it comes through people. There's, I've looked up and saw a billboard. I was like, oh my God, there's the answer right there. It can come in so many ways. It comes that way because we have not been able to hear it the other way. Because we feel blocked inside.
Really
Yeah, so,
interesting.
yeah. So that's when and this journey, we're not an island. Yeah. Although as much as you say, you're right. The inner guidance, the wisdom is already within you. But we all need help to access the inner guidance, this inner wisdom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's not something they're teaching you at school or something. That's a
exactly.
problem.
Exactly. They're not taught in the education system. Yeah. So there's all these people out there, and it's just by you being guided. Each teacher that you're guided to is always going to give you a piece of the puzzle. They're going to help you in some way, and then you have to trust your own guidance to say whether you want to receive it or not. Yeah, if it doesn't feel right, don't go with it. Yeah.
Really interesting talk, I thought. You have a lot of information. I feel like can be very useful to people outside, and I hope that the right people will find this conversation and will get something out of it, because not a lot of people are talking about this, and I think that's just wrong. These people should be shared with the world, and people should benefit from it.
Yeah, 100% agree. Because we are so powerful.
Yeah, it's right. We are
We are.
really powerful. If you only figure that a small percentage of the world is controlling the rest of the world, so a really small percentage of people can control the whole world. Go figure what the rest of the people can do. It's crazy.
Yeah. But we can look at the world and say it's messed up, but ultimately you have to go back inside of you and sort you out.
Mm-hmm.
And as you heal, it's like a light that goes out to the people around you, and it just expands and expands.
Like you doing now, right? You're
Yeah,
sharing stuff like, yeah.
that's this deep calling now to share. Go out there. Like many people. I mean, I had my stuff. One of my main stuff is hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being invisible,
Mm-hmm.
making myself small.
Yeah.
These are all protective mechanisms that I used in order that I wouldn't be seen, because it was not safe as a child to be seen. Yeah, so I learned to make myself really small and almost like a mouse, and I've had to uncover that, and face the things that I didn't want to face.
Yeah.
My, you know, as a child, growing up as an adult, I found it very difficult to express my feelings, express what was going on inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just be quiet. People
Yeah.
would say, what do you feel? What do you think? Oh, it's okay. And I just didn't give my opinions on anything, because I learned, that when I saw why I did that, I was like, oh my God, that went back to my mum, seeing her argue with my dad and seeing my dad hit my mum for giving her opinions. And if you see that as a 5-year-old, I learned it wasn't safe as a woman to give her opinions.
Crazy how far it goes. It's really
Yeah.
crazy.
But as an adult, I had no awareness of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just, okay, I didn't even know there was anything wrong with that. I just didn't give my opinion.
No, because everyone is doing similar things, so why should you change or maybe look at it, right?
Yeah, but it's only going on this journey and seeing that, oh my God, I created this from all these different beliefs that I had from growing up.
Really interesting, really interesting. Well, I'll definitely have to think about this and I'll continue my practicing. We should talk again, I feel like, at some point.
Yeah, sure. It's been great talking to
Yeah, I
you
really like this.
on your show.
Would you like to share a website with my listeners or some kind of...
Of course. Yes, if anybody is interested in my work, just log on to www.lornadice.com. That's Lorna, Lorna, Dice, Dyce.com.
All right. Well, if you share it with me after this, I'll share it below my video so people can click on it as well.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this conversation. We will talk again. I thought it was very interesting. Maybe I can talk about what I accomplished, and you can talk maybe about what you learned. I think it would be interesting.
That would be great. Thank you very
All right.
much. All right. Take care.
Okay. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Come on, skinny love, just let's sing it. So pour a little soul we will never hear. My, 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 my. Staring at the sink of blood across the knee. Right in this moment